According to the World Health Organization, 15% of the world's population lives with some form of disability, out of which 80% reside in developing countries like India. The pandemic has hit people differently, leaving some more devastated than others. As the world recovers, we have to do the same together. We cannot leave anyone behind, because to do so would be a failure of love. Today on Valentine's Day, we will talk about the love that makes us human. Not just romance, attraction and affection, but empathy, care, inclusion, humanity that treats each one as an equal. This is a love that recognizes the right of all disabled people to live lives of dignity with the same access to opportunities as anyone else. This is the love that does not see disabled people as persons dependent on society, that does not treat them as objects of pity, charity, or medical treatment. It is a love that encourages and empowers people with disabilities.
हमें हक है बराबरी का, गर्व से जिएंगे हम। हक है बराबरी का, गर्व से जिएंगे हम, गर्व से जिएंगे हम, गर्व से जिएंगे हम।
There are many thousands of disabled people who are leading a life with dignity. And Enable India is an organization who is bringing these people and bringing them to the world so that the world can see such people and get inspired.
A person can face a disability intellectually and physically at any point in their life, from medical complications or life-altering events. Some people are born with it, whilst others may acquire it. Though there has been a lot of improvement, greater awareness and change in the last 40 years, society is still the biggest barrier for people with disabilities. Stereotyping, stigma and discrimination. These are all enduring challenges that have resulted in underemployment, inadequate job quality, marginalization and the othering of those with disabilities.
India was one of the first countries to ratify the UN Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities in 2007. It includes 33 articles covering all aspects of life. With 17 goals and 169 targets, the Sustainable Development Goals explicitly include disability and persons with disabilities in 11 places. Since India is strongly committed to Agenda 2030, this means there needs to be a synergy between the SDGs and existing government schemes and programs. We need to take into account the needs of persons with disabilities in our daily lives, because this is where the maximum challenges exist, either out of thoughtlessness or a lack of understanding.
How can we build an inclusive society? Addressing fundamental barriers causing exclusion of persons with disabilities, including discriminatory laws and policies, negative attitudes, stigma and discrimination. Mainstreaming disability in the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Investing in monitoring and evaluating of progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals for disabled. Bolstering the means of implementation of the SDGs for persons with disabilities in the areas of capacity building, technology, finance, policy and institutional coherence, and multi-stakeholders partnership. Accessibility is not only an issue that applies to people with disabilities. It is an issue that affects everybody. An inclusive world is a better world. To achieve inclusivity for people with disabilities, we have to talk about accessibility in a positive way. The Accessible India campaign, Sugamya Bharat Abhiyan, is a nationwide campaign for achieving universal accessibility for persons with disabilities. In 2016, after years of painstaking advocacy by disability rights activists, the Indian Parliament expanded the number of disabilities covered under the law from 7 to 21. In India, the employment rate of people with disabilities is abysmal. Data from the 2011 census shows that of the 13.4 million people with disabilities in India in the employable age of 15 to 59 years, 9.9 million were non-workers or marginal workers. According to a report released by Unearth Inside, India has almost 3 crore people with disability, of whom around 1.3 crore are employable, but only 34 lakh have been employed across organized, unorganized sector, government-led schemes, or are self-employed.
The study covered the entire landscape of PWD talent in India, right? Those who are above the age of 18 to 19 and those who could be potentially employed across banking to FMCG to retail to technology, and again BPO, and under technology we also looked at product versus services split. We have about close to 3 crore PWD talent. It's extremely important to include them from the top line perspective, as we call it in the corporate world, which is your GDP, and B, from the diversity that they bring in terms of the knowledge and in terms of the contribution that they can do.
Given the fact that disability is known to be underestimated in enumeration exercises, this number could in fact be much higher. But the bottom line is that we are forcing millions of young people with disabilities to be dependent on social security or their own families and caregivers. We are disabling them. As a nation, we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we want for millions of people with disabilities? A lifetime of dependence or inclusion, dignity, employment, and equal rights? You will be surprised to learn that the answer to that is that it can add 5 to 7% to our annual GDP.
What does this exclusion mean for an emerging economy? Globally, the World Bank considers that leaving people with disability outside the economy translates into a foregone GDP of about 5% to 7%. The International Labour Organization also suggests that including persons with disability into the workforce can have a positive impact of about 3 to 7% of the GDP.
I think it's important that policymakers and other stakeholders stop thinking about the investments that are required for persons with disabilities to be able to fully take part in society in terms of assistive technologies, personal assistance, etc. We need to think about these supports that are not only a right for persons with disabilities to get them, according to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but also we need to see them as an investment that will turn persons with disabilities from passive recipients to active citizens and taxpayers.
India is sitting on a huge, untapped talent pool of people with disabilities that can play a crucial role in the country's growth. With the right policy and strategy shift and correct enforcement, there is a real chance that we work towards raising employability rates among the PWD population. Enable India, an NGO, has been working towards the economic independence and dignity of people with disability since 1999.
Years back, my brother started growing blind at the age of 15. And in the process of rehabilitation, every step of the way, each barrier we found solutions, and at every stage he was able to see his own value, and the journey, we've done kayaking together, we've done different adventure sports also together, which truly, his entire personality is naughty, funny, and I can see my brother in that. So this journey culminated in him working in a MNC. And that's the journey we want for every person in India. If you go now to a rural area and see the thousands of folks that have been working thanks to the work we have done along with other NGOs, don't be surprised if you see a Panchayat Development Officer who's blind, who's working, or you'll go and see 2 women with severe disability giving you petrol in their grocery shop. You come here maybe and you see a person who's deaf-blind, can't see, can't hear, can't speak, is going with his deaf wife, somewhere to eat because the person is earning money. After that, I feel, see what each of persons with disability are doing.
Along with learning employable skills, people with disabilities also need enabling mechanisms like assistive technology, accessible environments, financial inclusion, and most importantly, willing employers.
This is where basically we created this whole thing. How do you address this diverse problem? And this whole diverse problem basically be addressed by creating, and I use the analogy called honeycomb structure, the Madhukosh Ka, right? The honeycomb structure, where we see this as a honeycomb with different honeycomb cells, and each cell basically is different. So for example, we have a cell called enable vision, and that enable vision cell addresses the whole equation of how do you enable and get the person with visual impairment ready for jobs, how do you find different livelihood options. So this is one of the ways to build kind of aspirations.
For us, inclusion earlier meant being PT, taking care of someone from a sympathy perspective. But over the last 10 years, as we started working with people of disability, our whole definition of inclusion has changed. For us, inclusion means good business sense, inclusion means innovation, inclusion means embracing a large part of the society and large part of the population which has been excluded.
Den joined Enable India, having essayed many roles in life. Known as the Stephen Hawking of Kolkata, author, award-winning actor and radio jockey, Sayomdev Mukherjee, popularly known as Den, was born with a rare genetic disorder called dopa-responsive dystonia. He couldn't speak for 25 years. In fact, his condition was only diagnosed after 25 years. But today, 41-year-old Den is helping people with disabilities overcome their challenges and live fulfilling lives.
Life has been a big journey for me. In all the frontiers, when I could speak, when I could not speak, every time I have got this confidence that when you have the family, the people and the blessings of Almighty, you will gain in life and you will be a person. I wanted to earn, I wanted to be economically independent, and that's when a miracle happened. I got a call from a radio channel of Kolkata, and they requested me to ask me whether I would be able to anchor a show. Every day that I went to do the show, I thought that it would be the last show because I am not suitable for radios, I am not suitable for media. I have acted in a movie, so in that movie I had to kind of listen to the dialogues, remember, recall and deliver. With the grace of God, in Cincinnati Film Festival, I got the Best Actor Award as well.
Another challenge is trained medical supervision for diagnosis and monitoring of the disabilities. Chances of misdiagnosis are high, rare conditions often have no cure, and new drug development can take decades.
We need professionals, we need more research, we need more activities for which we need resources, and there we will create more value to the world, to the population, to each and every aspect of upliftment of economy, society and culture.
A disability is not necessarily a tragedy, nor do people with disabilities see it as such. This is 27-year-old Benzi's story.
मेरा नाम बेंजी है, मैं 27 साल की हूँ। मेरे को ऋतिक रोशन अच्छे लगते हैं। मेरे को लता मंगेशकर और आशा भोसले को गाना गाना अच्छा लगता है।
Benzi was diagnosed with autism at a young age. A very special singer who cannot have a conversation but expresses herself through music.
जब बेंजी पैदा हुई थी तो जैसे और सब बच्चे आते हैं ज़िंदगी में, तो जैसे हर माँ बाप खुश होता है उसको लेके, तो हम भी बहुत खुश थे और काफ़ी इसको सेलिब्रेट भी किया हम लोगों ने। बट ये एक्साइटमेंट हमारा 1.5 महीने के अंदर बिल्कुल चेंज हो गया, क्योंकि ना मैंने, ना मेरे हस्बैंड ने, ना किसी फैमिली मेम्बर्स ने कभी भी स्पेशल बच्चे का नाम सुना था। तो हमने डॉक्टर से कंसल्ट किया कि भाई, डॉक्टर ने कहा कि हाँ बच्चे को प्रॉब्लम है और लाइफ लॉन्ग आपको इसके साथ काम करना पड़ेगा और थेरेपीज के ऊपर ये आगे चलेगी। एक दिन मैंने नोटिस किया कि ये जो है इसकी जो आइज बॉल है वो थोड़ा सा उसमें मूवमेंट हुआ, तो लेकिन उस समय मैं ये नहीं समझ पाई कि ये म्यूजिकल टॉय से इंटरैक्ट कर रही है या फिर वो लाइट से। उसमें लाइट्स भी थी, कुछ कलरफुल लाइट्स से। फिर हमने धीरे धीरे करके इसके लाइफ में म्यूज़िक को इंट्रोड्यूस किया। तो हमारा जो इंडियन क्लासिकल म्यूज़िक है उसमें हीलिंग पावर होता है और हमारे जितने भी रागाज हैं वो डिफरेंट नर्व्स को स्टिमुलेट करते हैं।
She began learning Indian classical ragas from a very young age to help her voice and speech. But singing ragas transformed her feeble voice into a stronger, more melodious one. Benzi has not only released her own music albums, the first one at the age of 9, but also won 3 national awards, appeared in the Limca Book of World Records twice, and has given more than 1,000 performances all over India and internationally. Parental involvement plays a critical role in the development of children with autism spectrum disorder, and Benzi is lucky as she had all their support and love.
म्यूज़िक इज़ हर मेडिसिन, यू नो। जो म्यूज़िक है इसके लिए मेडिसिन है, या आप कह सकते हैं सोल है, लैंग्वेज है।
जुनून है तो जहान है, तेरे कदमों के निशान है। जुनून है तो जहान है, तेरे कदमों के निशान है। तू चल तेरा दिल है सच्चा और महान है, तेरा दिल है सच्चा और महान है। जुनून है तो जहान है, तेरे कदमों के निशान है।
Madhu is 100% visually challenged since birth with a fully damaged optic nerve. Dinesh lost his sight gradually till he was left with none of it by the time he was 8 years. They both met in a software company that develops screen readers. A screen reader uses speech technology to let blind users work with computers.
It's been very interesting. Dinesh and I first met when I was like a little, not little, but yeah, like a teenager, 16 at National Association for the Blind. But we really met when we joined a software company, and I was a software tester and he was a software developer. So that's where our love story began. It was very interesting then how he proposed to me also, in the sense that he asked me, he continued asking me about a girl. He said, I have a girlfriend, I have somebody in mind and I really like her. I don't know how to propose to her. He took all the ideas from me, and one fine day he told me that, well, that girl is you.
I think it makes a big difference. For example, my parents, they like everybody else. It's not only my parents, but all blind persons or disabled persons' parents support them. Now, Madhu and Namesh, both of them are a great support. Namesh, though he's still a child, we don't want him to feel anything, but whenever we need any support, he helps.
It's like anybody else. We have our ups and downs, we have fights, we have we have our fights are mainly because of parenting, and parents would understand that. Dinesh and I, both of us, became contributing members to the society. We are taxpayers, happy taxpayers, and that actually also helped us get resources to raise our son. most importantly, I think our perspective is that we want to give ourselves and our son the life that has a lot of independence and that does not have that poor thing feeling in it. Neither am I a poor thing, nor Dinesh a poor thing, and nor our son a poor thing, because he's being raised by disabled parents and he has to do a lot of things for us.
Both Madhu and Dinesh are strong supporters of education and technology and believe they are the great enablers of our time. Technology, in fact, played a key role in Dinesh's life.
My main thing is that because we have the lived experience of disability, we know what we want, and persons with disabilities themselves should be involved in any development that is happening for technology development. When I developed the software, the entire disability community felt that, oh, this is something that we needed. So I developed because I knew what I need, being a disabled person, not because of any special thing. Being a disabled person, I also took feedback from many other persons with blindness. For us, it's almost like getting our eyes back. So technology is that important.
Over the last few years, the disability rights movement has been instrumental in effecting inclusive laws which have proven to be hard-fought victories. The question should now transition from acceptance to equal partnerships. Until more people who have disabilities enter the government, public spaces, schools, offices, and understanding of their differences and needs will be as vague as it is now in the public sphere. To be able to realize the goal of inclusiveness, a radical shift in perspective, that of being equal partners in development and decision making, is needed first. People with disabilities form the largest minority group, but unfortunately, this group has always remained a marginal priority. To become an all-inclusive and accessible society, we need to change our perceptions towards disability and collaborate with the disabled community to break down barriers. Because it is this love that makes us human. Love doesn't discriminate. Love accepts, includes, and inspires.